Good morning, everyone. We'll kick off the webinar now. So my name is David Jacobiti. I'll do a short introduction to myself in a few slides, but today we're looking at unified comms and enabling the workplace of the future. So in covering this topic, we'll look a little bit about what we're doing today from a UC point of view for the workplace, and then we'll also be looking at some of the new trends that are coming into the workplace and how unified comms and its various technologies can enable that workplace. Just from a housekeeping point of view, just up front, so if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to type these questions into the question box as shown in the image below. There will be a section at the end of the webinar for Q&A, and we'll address any questions. If you have any technical difficulties, you can phone Kira, and her number there is 028235 9552. We'll get straight into it. Just briefly about myself. So I'm the practice manager for comms and unified comms, so I guess voice and data if you like, at Brennan IT. I've been in the industry for over 20 years, and I've pretty much my main product set that I've looked after and managed in my career has been voice, telephony and unified comms. Previously been at NEC, Amcom and Vocus prior to joining Brennan IT. My contact details are there, and for anyone wanting to have a follow-up discussion afterwards, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll also be sharing a copy of the webinar with you at the end, so you'll get copies of the slides as well. In terms of the agenda, as I mentioned briefly in the intro, we'll be looking at where we are today from a UC point of view, where we've come from. We'll be looking at today's tool set, and then we'll start to look at some of the trends that are coming into the workplace. So things like the new millennials that are coming into the workplace, the activity-based workspace trend that's coming in, and we'll then look at tomorrow's UC toolset. So in this section I'll be talking about some of the new things that are coming in that we need to be aware of. And yeah, I guess we'll just wrap up with some concluding remarks, and then there'll be some time for Q&A. Where are we today? So this is just a little bit of setting the scene of where we are today. If we look at a brief history of UC, and I'll touch on it very quickly. In the 80s, you know, we really had telephony PBX vendors starting to add voice messaging and IVRs. So it was sort of the very beginning of unified comms. In the 90s, voicemail to email and unified messaging was the kind of hero product that came through, and I guess that was where that technology was at that point. From a video conferencing, so when I say VC, I'm referring to video conferencing. It was expensive to operate and run, and it was only room-based systems. So typically we had one boardroom per business that had VC, if at all. In the 2000s, sorry, let me just go back a couple animations. In the 2000s, we started to see the birth of UC. So we started to see office integration. We started to see soft clients, instant messaging and presence, and it's what I like to call the click-to-call era, because we worked out that we could click on a phone number and then make the handset ring, and that was quite an exciting kind of era for everybody involved. And from a video conferencing point of view, we started to deploy IP-based VC, so it made VC more cost-effective, but it was still primarily room-based and with on-premise bridging. So what we mean by on-premise bridging was, you know, enterprises and businesses had to buy their own bridges or multi-point services directly on-premise. In 2010, so now where are we at now? So we've moved from that on-premise PBX model to now cloud-based PBX. That is the norm, and we're certainly seeing that from a sales point of view, that is the most preferred architecture model. With video conferencing, it's now moved to much smaller, simpler deployments and soft clients. and bridging has moved, so that the multi-point bridging, if you like, has moved from on-premise to cloud also. And we've now recently seen the birth of VMRs, or virtual meeting rooms, and we'll talk about that today. And I guess this era I like to talk about this as unified comms and collaboration, so UC&C. So it's becoming less about the technology and more about how people can use the solution. And I guess what we're focused on today is the 2020s. So what's coming in the next 10 years? What do we need to be aware of? How should we be, thinking about our workplace and the tool sets we use? From a UC definition, this is a very dry definition, but it's integration of a number of real-time enterprise communication services. So instant messaging, presence, voice, video, desktop sharing, etc. So many of the tools we're using today in the workplace. And it's also with non-real-time services. So voicemail is considered non-real-time because it's often listened to or received after the event. And in terms of the players in the market, so we're seeing, players like Broadsoft have really embraced the cloud-based UC model, and we're one of the first adopters. Cisco has been the #1 from an on-premise point of view, and now is moving to a cloud-based model very rapidly. And we've got the challenger with Microsoft Skype for Business, who's come through, particularly in the last couple of years with their offering, and we're now seeing, these guys, amongst others, battle it out for that UC cloud-based solution. With that definition, but we're not really talking about people and collaboration, which, in my view is wrong. So UC, from my point of view, is around how people, staff, businesses collaborate and communicate. It's less about the technology and more about the end result, which is collaboration. So, in terms of defining collaboration, this is a bit of a definition, but it's the act of employees communicating and working together, building on each other's ideas to produce something new or do something differently. So just have that in the back of your mind as we're going through the webinar today, that we're really talking about how staff collaborate and how staff collaborate with internal and external stakeholders, and UC is that tool set or framework that we can deploy to enable collaboration. Some stats I want to share with you. This is, once again, we're setting the scene on where we are today, but this is from a Polycom report called The Workplace of the Future, conducted in 2016. They surveyed around 1,500 businesses, and interestingly, a very high percentage of Australian and New Zealand businesses felt they had a competitive advantage if they were technology enabled. So it's a good thing for all of us. I'm assuming most of us in this industry or in the buying of technology, that's a good thing, that if we have a technology enabled organization, that we have competitive advantage. Interestingly, the next question asked was whether these businesses felt they were collaborative. 90% of businesses felt they were collaborative, but in terms of the employees, it was a little bit less. So maybe sometimes what we as businesses think is a collaboration tool or solution is not always seen by staff to the same level. Some further questions that were asked were, with the collaboration side, employees, they admitted that they were spending 40% of their time, almost half of their day, collaborating with people not in their immediate vicinity. So that's people in other parts of the business, other states, other countries potentially. When asked how they collaborate, that 40% of the time, these were the tool sets they said they used. And it's interesting that email, voice, and meeting rooms are the highest used collaboration tools. So not very forward-looking from where we are today. If you look at VC, instant messaging, content sharing, these were much less used for collaboration. So I guess the point that this makes for us is that we're still collaborating today very much in a way that we did 10 years ago, which was phone calls, emails, and using meeting rooms. In terms of just the final part around today before we look towards the future is what's the tool set we have with, at our disposal today. So we've now moved mostly to IP handsets. Most of us are running IP handsets talking to some sort of cloud PBX. We have soft clients. So soft clients have become more pervasive and they can do voice, video, instant messaging, presence, etc. And they're now also on our desktop and on our mobiles. We still have room-based VC, for those larger rooms that need the pan, tilt, zoom capability of room-based VC. We now have the concept of a huddle space, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail, but this is smaller, more cost-effective VC solutions that we can run in smaller spaces. We have point solutions for web meetings and content sharing, as what we're doing today with this webinar. And we also have a number of team collaboration apps that we use, so things like Yammer or Slack, things like that. I guess where we're at today is a lot of these tools address their own particular kind of use case. They all serve a purpose. I guess the integration between them is not ideal. And we still use people process around booking of these systems and managing these systems. That's where we're at today. Now if we look to the workplace of the future, so now we're going to start looking at, we've set the scene on where we're at today. We're collaborating in still quite old ways, voice, email, using meeting rooms. We've spoken about what tool sets we have, but now we're going to start looking at what's required in the workplace of the future. So the first thing that's happening to a lot of our businesses is that millennials, so the younger generation joining the workforce, they've grown up with the best communication tools at their fingertips. So video calling, instant messaging, they have been using these for a number of years. They enter the workforce expecting the same from their employers, and this came from a 2016 digital workplace survey conducted by PRSA employee communication section. So these millennials, and they're also called digital natives. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that phrase, but really they are switched on and they are connected and they are looking for those same tool sets when they join the business and join enterprises. Just to reinforce that even further, Microsoft conducted a survey of over 1,000 millennials, and a really compelling 93% of them said that modern technology is one of the most important aspects of a workplace. So, I guess what those two factors or those two survey results point out to us is that the new people joining, the younger generation joining our organisation, the future of our businesses, are tech savvy, they're switched on, and they're looking for technology tools when they join the business. A new trend that we're seeing, and is also, I guess, coming back to that point around collaboration, promoting that collaboration element where required, or promoting, quiet type, focused work time, is the concept of activity-based workspaces. So traditionally in office design, we never looked at building creative areas or quiet areas or collaborative areas or informal breakout areas. More and more now in modern office design, we're catering for staff by building those areas. And you'll see some examples on the next few slides, but the point that we want to make is that having technology tool sets available in those areas is critical to making those areas 100% successful. And here's another stat is that, and this came from that Polycom report as well, is that 48% of employers do think that they are providing activity-based working to their staff today, which means 1 in 2. So I guess many of the people surveyed may have felt that hot desking is activity-based working. I think what we're going to cover in these next few slides is that activity-based working is not just hot desking, but being able to work from home, being able to work from collaboration areas, from huddle spaces. There are many different ways of activity-based working now, and that's what we want to point out here in this in the next few slides. So this picture here is pretty much a traditional meeting room. So the way we used to run meetings in the past, so we're going to focus on meetings on this next slide. The way we ran meetings in the past was we booked a room. If we could get a hold of a room, they're often a scarce commodity that we had trouble trying to book. We would all join the room. So if you weren't in the room, it was hard to be in the meeting. And you'd have a voice or video, potentially a video capable device in the room, and you could then potentially talk to some third parties or partners or customers, etc. That was the traditional meeting. A new concept that has come out and that is gaining a lot of popularity is the concept of virtual meeting rooms. Okay, so virtual meeting rooms are software bridges and tool sets that are hosted in the cloud. And what's happening with virtual meeting rooms is that video is becoming the new default way of meeting. So the phone call or audio-based meeting is almost becoming a thing of the past, and video is becoming the new norm wherever you are. Now these VMRs allow you to join via your traditional in-room system, but also soft clients, mobile clients, browsers using a technology called WebRTC, which we'll talk about in a few more slides. And audio is becoming the fallback. So video is really the new norm with VMRs. And VMRs, you don't need to be tied to a physical location. With these various ways of joining, you can be on the road, you can be working from home, you can be in a quiet space. It's really enabling that concept of activity-based working. And I guess that's that point there, that virtual meeting rooms enable activity-based working. And just to for those of you that haven't seen a VMR, this is a browser-based view. So anyone running a browser can dial into a virtual meeting room. There's the ability to chat and have audio controls. You can see everybody, you can share content, you can receive content. So if you're working from home, you can see and be part of the meeting. You no longer have to be tied to the office in that meeting room. And we've started selling this now. So we've started selling virtual meeting rooms to customers, and the uptake's been very positive. The beauty about virtual meeting rooms as well is that they are consumed on a monthly OpEx type model, so you no longer need to purchase, server-based solutions or a CapEx-based model. Ourselves at Brennan IT, so we've actually moved to deploying activity-based workstations around our business. So we have a number of collaboration areas, breakout areas, as well as hot desk areas. So we've adopted hot desking, and this is just a quote from one of our sales managers, Stephen McKenzie, is that we're saying work is an activity and not a place. So we're also encouraging staff to work from home where needed, and it's been successful. We haven't seen a drop in productivity. Staff satisfaction levels have gone up by doing this and adopting this. And I guess the image behind, this is courtesy of a Cisco site, but this is a collaboration space, an informal collaboration space. It doesn't have solid windows or doors. It's quite open, but there is the ability to run video at this area. And over this other end of the picture is also a small collaboration or huddle space. Once again, video enabled, so if the meeting needs to bring someone in from somewhere else in the business, the technology is at their fingertips so they can jump onto it. The huddle room or the huddle space, as opposed to the cuddle space, as some people have incorrectly called it, is, I guess, the idea of the old meeting room was we found a space that we could fit 10 to 12 people in, and we put an oak table in the middle, and we often only had 2 or 3 people in the meeting, but we had a full meeting room occupied for that hour. The concept of the huddle room is small 2 to 3 person spaces that are technology enabled. So VC is available, being able to present and share content is available, and they're designed so that you can fit 3 or 4 of these into what was traditionally an old meeting room. So we're seeing these become more and more popular in the workplace of the future, and having more cost-effective VC as opposed to the expensive in-room systems is the other trend that's coming out. So a lot of the vendors are releasing smaller VC solutions that don't have pan, tilt, zoom cameras. They're just fixed cameras, almost like webcams, that can be deployed. And the benefit of these smaller spaces is there's more meeting rooms in the business. People can collaborate and work jointly, regardless of their location as well, using the video capability. And I guess it's about focusing on the work required as well in those small spaces. So we've spoken about how video is going to change and going to become more popular, as well as the concept of virtual meeting rooms being used, as well as huddle spaces. The next big change that we see coming is around enterprise messaging. Some people call them social business apps. I personally don't like that as a name, but with social business, what this is stemming from is almost the Facebook social media generation now wanting to have the same type of tools within their business. So the image shown there is BroadSoft's Team One, and enterprise messaging is really the new place that we'll be meeting in the future, as opposed to traditional email and phone calls. But what they are many-to-many meeting rooms that you can access from your desk or mobile. So as you join in, there'll be many rooms that you can join. You can then see the people that are joined into that room, and it's almost an extension of that virtual meeting room environment. Again, you'll be able, and these enterprise messaging solutions will be able to collaborate with, obviously with internal teams, but also external partners and customers simply and securely. So one of the big focus of a lot of the vendors is securing these type of enterprise messaging solutions up, so that because you are allowing externals into your business, making sure that that is secure. The other exciting part of these enterprise messaging solutions is that you'll be able to combine voice and video seamlessly. So you'll be able to, if you look here, there's little icons that can change a room into a video conference with the click of a button, and that's using, once again, this solution called this technology called WebRTC. So WebRTC, there is a slide on that coming up, but WebRTC essentially is a framework of protocols and APIs that can be embedded into browsers that enable you to do voice, video, instant messaging, desktop sharing without the need for a plug-in or an app to be running on the device. So all of these enterprise messaging apps are going to be running from the browser. Obviously, these rooms that you'll be able to join, you'll be able to host and share content both instantly and permanently with internal and external people. So what that means is you almost have a new knowledge base being formed in the business. So you won't need to necessarily have your wikis and your intranet pages. These enterprise messaging solutions can almost become your new default way of meeting, sharing content and hosting content. And the exciting part, which I think no one really knows what it's going to mean for us, but I've come up with my own kind of view on it, is that these enterprise messaging solutions will have APIs and be able to connect third-party apps. So what that means is we will get the concept of or we will see a lot of data and analytics from the business coming back to the business owners on how staff and how customers are interacting and collaborating with us. And I've got a slide on that which I'll share with you, which I guess shows my view on where that analytic piece is going to go. It's quite exciting, a little bit scary as well, but I'll talk about that in a few slides. So enterprise messaging, I guess, is, all the vendors are investing in it. This is BroadSoft's Team 1, this is Cisco's Spark, and Skype for Business has recently announced Skype Teams, for any of you that are following that space. They're all investing in it. They all believe that it is kind of the new battleground in terms of, whose UC solution toolset is the best. And this, for me, is going to be one of the biggest transformations, that you'll see a drop in email usage, you'll see a drop in voice calls, and these will be the new ways that we meet. We'll have these virtual rooms driven by these enterprise messaging solutions that we'll be meeting on and running our meetings through. So we've covered video, VMRs, we've covered enterprise messaging. Now I want to talk about the death of the handset. So this is, some people might say controversial, but the numbers are pretty hard to ignore on this. We currently, with our UC customer base, we've already seen about 7.5%, close to 10% running soft phone only service with headsets. So obviously with soft phones you do need to run headsets if you want to run them in the business. We predict that this figure will increase to 50% within 10 years. Probably conservative, really, given what we're seeing. We're seeing with some of the new UC solutions like Skype for Business that the percentages are actually higher for customers running soft client only. Okay. The headset manufacturers are actually in a very good position with all this, because obviously their sales are going to increase, but they're also looking at how they can make their headsets the best out there and provide features that the other providers and competitors don't have. And this is some Jabra research, right? So looking at Jabra is one of the major headset manufacturers out there. They've done their own research saying that knowledge workers are interrupted every 10 minutes in the business, and when they do get interrupted, it takes them an average of 23 minutes to get back on the task they were working on. So you can see that not having the right headset or the right tool set in the business can mean that your main knowledge workers are going to be interrupted quite a bit and not be as productive as you'd like. Another stat that Jabra found is 70% state that disturbance has a negative impact on their productivity, and I guess we're all testament to that is the case. What Jabra is doing, and I'll just go back a slide just to show the picture, but what Jabra has done to try and alleviate these negative factors from happening is they've included or integrated a busy light on the earpiece, so that orange circle actually lights up when you're on a call. They've also invested heavily in noise cancellation and noise cancelling headphones. So they're trying to block out the noise, but with that busy lamp or that busy light, they're also trying to detract other staff from coming up and just tapping them on the shoulder for questions and things that may disturb them from their prioritised tasks. So in summary, around the death of the handset, it is coming. The numbers are showing that. The headset manufacturers are going to be the big winners, but what you need to think about for the workplace of the future is how you're going to deploy those headsets, what features you're going to look for, whether they're wired, wireless. Are you going to look for some of those other kind of features that will allow your staff to focus and be more productive? Now, just on business analytics, and I spoke about how enterprise messaging apps would have a number of APIs and there'll be a lot of analytics coming out of them. This is my view on where the analytics is going to go, but it will enable us as business owners or IT managers to actually identify leaders and influencers in the business. And this is a mock-up slide. This is not something that's there today, but we'll be able to track UC usage. So we'll be able to track the talk time. We'll be able to track how many instant messages are sent and received, align that with website and application usage. We'll be able to see time spent working on breaks and in meetings from staff. We'll be able to, this is probably the exciting stuff, we'll be able to identify who the knowledge workers are, who the key staff are, and who their contact groups are. So the example shown here is Jane Smith is head of marketing. We've identified her as a knowledge worker, and we can see her circle of contacts that she collaborates with on a daily basis. So for example, she'll deal with Emma, the sales manager, around 19% of her time on a day-to-day basis. We'll also be able to see how much time she spends working on documents, how much time she spends on email, how much time she spends in meetings. So we'll really start to build profiles up of Jane, what she does, who her influencers or contacts are in a business. And the scary thing, I mentioned there was some scary things that might come out of this, but you know, linking remuneration review to effort. So today we often reward staff based on our perceived kind of, it's often not measurable how much business effort staff are doing, apart from if they're producing any particular results we've asked them to actually deliver. Can you imagine a time in the future when we can get analytics and data on Jane and then link that to a performance review? It may not be 100% of her performance review, but it may be 10% of her performance is based on how much she's engaging and collaborating both internally and externally. Think about salespeople, measuring salespeople on how many calls they're making, how effective they are in contacting and communicating with customers as well. So in summary, I think this is one of the exciting areas for unified comms in the future, in that analytics are going to be available and there's going to be all these new exciting ways of using that data. And obviously there's privacy concerns and other factors that we need to be wary of, but we will have a lot more data and a lot more information at our disposal. I spoke about WebRTC. So WebRTC, the predictions on the right here are very compelling. The market's going to grow 45% in the next 10 years, according to this research conducted. The supported browsers and platforms that have embedded WebRTC are pretty much all the big guys, so Chrome, Firefox, Opera, Android, and iOS. So the only one that's missing there is Microsoft, and they're doing something slightly different. But WebRTC, as I mentioned before, it's an open framework. It enables real-time comms directly from the browser. So from a browser, you'll be able to chat, VC, do file transfers or desktop sharing, and you won't need an internal or external plugin. So think about and the use cases for WebRTC are still being defined. It's not something that is going to be turned on everywhere tomorrow and we'll be using it. It's something that we're going to see gradually be introduced into the way we do things and the way we communicate on the web. But think about, you want to call your bank. Today you normally go into a branch and then you speak to a teller, or then you ask for more information. Can you imagine going to your browser and then clicking on, I want to speak to a subject matter expert on investments? With WebRTC, you won't need to have anything installed on your browser. As long as you're running one of these supported browsers or platforms, you'll be able to click a link. WebRTC will find out what your capabilities are, so whether you've got a microphone, a webcam, or an embedded camera on your laptop, etc., and it will set up a call to that subject matter expert at the bank. And let's say I've got a laptop, I've got a webcam on my laptop, it will do a video call from me to that subject matter expert at the bank, and I'll be able to then converse with them and ask questions securely, you know, using my broadband connection that I've got at home or wherever I might be. So WebRTC is here today. It's starting to, you know, to make inroads in how we use the browsers to communicate, and we're going to see more and more solutions with WebRTC embedded in the near future. Just close to finishing up, so a few more slides there, and thanks for your attention so far, but just looking at the cost savings and value add of all what we're talking about with UC today and tomorrow. So cloud-based UC and C, so unified comms and collaboration, is here today. We're currently providing this to a number of customers in Australia, and the benefits from a cost savings point of view are pretty compelling. Okay, so sharing your data circuit, so you're leveraging your data connection in your business to run voice as well, whether that be SIP trunking or hosted UC. That's available today, and certainly something that you should all be looking at. Consolidating your bills, so putting your data and your voice together is another cost savings. You know, and certainly the more you spend with one provider, you know, the savings do add up. Cheaper call rates, so you know, cloud-based UC now, you know, the market has moved significantly in regards to call rates, particularly services like calling Australian-based mobiles. So moving to a cloud-based solution really gives you that cheaper call rate experience. Lower total cost of ownership, so nowadays cloud-based UC and C is consumed on a monthly model, so that it's typically an OPEX-based model where you pay for the service each month. And the IT admin side of things is now also bundled in with the cloud solution, so all your moves, adds and changes, all your service requests. So you know, it means you can it frees up time for you to focus on your business and other strategic things, and then service providers like Brennan IT can take care of management of your cloud-based UC and C. Deloitte has done some research around UC, okay, and they confirm that CIOs and IT managers know that UC can reduce costs, but they also say that deploying UC should be thought of as more of a productivity platform. So being able to get more business productivity out of your staff. And I think what we've shown is the solutions that are here today and also coming in the future will enable a lot of that collaboration and productivity. And if you're not getting that today, then I guess your business is missing out. And the other research that Deloitte, or statement Deloitte's made, is that companies that prioritise collaboration are twice as likely to be profitable. So quite an interesting you know, finding there, that in those investments that you make with UC today can set you up to be more profitable in the future. Before I conclude on everything we've spoken about today and just wrap it up, what I wanted to do was just talk about Brennan IT. So this is the one slide, you know, just discussing what we can do and how we can help you. So first of all, this journey of collaboration and UC, we're taking many customers on that journey today, and whilst the workplace of the future is still a few years off, we can give you the right strategic advice and guidance to take you on that journey today. So we've got over 18 years experience in delivering voice and video solutions to businesses in Australia. We've come on that journey from, you know, that I painted on one of the very early slides, which was traditional PBXs on premise, all the way through to now delivering cloud-based UC across a number of those vendors that we mentioned today. Evergreen solutions. So one of the advantages of coming or working with a provider like Brennan IT is that we can take you on a journey that includes software patching and upgrades as part of your managed service. So we won't charge you or make you pay each time a platform needs upgrading. And that was the old model with telephony and UC. With our approach, if once you come on board as a customer as a managed service, we will continually patch and upgrade your solution as part of that service provision. We'll also give you access to the latest features as they come out with each upgrade. So you're going to get that evergreen approach to your UC platform. From a delivery and support point of view, you get a dedicated provisioning team and project manager to handhold you with your deployment, as well as access to our 24/7 service desk. So, our staff numbers are approaching 400 now. A lot of that team is focused on delivering support and service, as well as a large percentage of our organisation is highly skilled engineering and technical workforce that you gain access to. And the final point there around video, we're talking about the workplace of the future having a lot more video in it, and we have a range of fully supported VC solutions as well as virtual meeting rooms that we can provide you today to take you on that journey towards that, enabling that workplace of the future. Just in summary for today, I think the workplace, this is just a statement. The workplace of the future is not a place, it's a state of mind. It's how you integrate collaborative technology into the DNA of your business. So that's the focus. I think that the takeout of today is it's about people and collaboration, and having the right foundation and the right UC tool set is important to do that. And some of the key points that I guess where we see the workplace of the future going is enterprise messaging. So having those many-to-many meeting rooms that staff can jump on, external people can connect to you with, you can host content, you can escalate it to a voice or video call. Video usage to become the new norm, we see that coming through. We see the adoption of VMRs becoming commonplace, as well as transformation of the meeting room spaces from traditional meeting rooms into smaller purpose-built huddle spaces. We definitely see the cloud-based OpEx and economics being, the new way of consuming these new technologies. So less about capital investment, more about a monthly predictable bill for all your services. Headset adoption and soft clients. We spoke about how we're already seeing the handset sales drop. We believe that we'll see more and more headsets coming into the business, and soft clients being used for voice and video calling, both in the office and when staff are mobile. WebRTC, we spoke about that new technology being embedded into the browsers. We're going to see more and more business usage of that technology, so something for you to monitor and get across. Activity-based workspaces. So we spoke a little bit around how the modern workplace needs to have quiet rooms, collaboration rooms, as well as your hot desking environments. And once again, with these activity-based workspaces, ensuring you have the right tech tools or UC products in there to enable collaboration. And finally, we touched upon how there'll be deeper analytics and business insight with these future UC tool sets. And that area there is both an area of opportunity, excitement, and also a little bit of what's coming next, kind of watch this space. But certainly I believe that will have some significant impact on the workplace of the future as well. So in closing, I think that was today's presentation. I hope you found that useful. And as mentioned, you will get copies of the slides, and I'm happy to have any follow-up one-on-one or Q&A sessions with you.